My name's Branden. I'm a world traveler, foodie, and YouTuber. Together, you and I will find the best travel hacks, tips, and best places to explore. Join me as we find new adventures together, live only on IBM.TV. Hello, IBMTV. My name is Branden, and you're watching The Best of Travel every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern here on IBMTV. We're talking all about travel today. This is the show that's going to be giving you the best hacks, tips, tricks, all the travel advice you could need, so that way you're prepared to have the best trip every time. Today we're going to talk about travel. It's been a good week, I think. After our stressful election show, it was much needed to have a relaxing week to look at some hotels and to kind of unwind a little bit. If you don't know me, if this is your first time seeing the show, hi, welcome. I'm Branden, and I'm your host. I've traveled full time for about 4 years. Of course, we're all shut down in the traveling world now, but I just kind of wanted to say hey and say hi so you can meet me. I know there's some new folks who may be tuning in. If you watch the show and you like what you see and you want to go back and watch some old shows, I've got a whole back catalog of shows here we've done on IBMTV. You can find them at my website, right down there, thebrandenscott.com/IBMTV. And you can watch episodes on episodes of me talking about travel. I tend to reference myself a lot, so, maybe it's a little helpful spot there to visit. But today we're going to talk about something a little different. There's so much going on in the world, and it's been so crazy. So I had a special project that I wanted to share with you, and we're going to re-air it live on the show and up on my YouTube channel back during the World Peace Day. It was supposed to air here on IBMTV, but it was a busy day. We ran out of the time slot. So I wanted to share some of it with you today because I think it's important now as we look towards the future to think about the importance of travel, so that way when it does, kind of come back up, and we are able to start traveling again, we can do so successfully and happily and understand the importance of it. Here's the thing about travel. We'll talk about this a little bit more on the show, and the video will touch on this too. But the thing I think that's important to remember about travel is that it's not just about seeing pretty sights. It's not just about trying fun foods, entertaining the kids for a few weeks. It's about making connections with other people. If you're going to be a good traveler, I think that's the key. You want to be able to connect with other people. So, and we are connecting here. We're doing it live every Tuesday at 11. So if you are watching and you do have some comments, feel free to leave them in the chat on the IBMTV Facebook page or YouTube channel. They'll pop up here on the screen and we can help you plan the best trip every time. So we're doing some connection here as well. But, I think that travel is something that, it can really help people learn about those who are different than themselves. And kind of meet people of different cultures, meet people who speak different languages. So I think it's important. I think it's important to travel in that aspect. So I'm going to show you a little piece I did today. It's a really cool piece. I interviewed some friends and talked to them about their story. Both of these friends I traveled with full time for almost a year. We traveled around together with these two guys. And, now especially I think with the election over, there's a lot of animosity here in the United States. So I wanted to kind of give you a little cure, a little vaccine for that. When you go to other countries and you meet people who are different than you, I think you can really expand your horizons. You can expand your mind. And you can meet people who are different than you. And they can help you learn how to understand different viewpoints, how to think differently. And I think all of that is very, very important. As I said last week or maybe 2 weeks ago on the show, it's not wrong, it's different. It's a very common travel blogger phrase. But that's when you travel, that's the way to do it. And I'll share a short little anecdote about kind of the metaphor that I'm using. I'll give you a short little anecdote to help explain it a little bit. So when I was traveling mainly in South America, I had a friend who was a citizen of the United States, and she was very aggressive about the idea that signs in restaurants or stores would have English and Spanish on the sign. She just hated it. She thought, if you're going to come to the country, you should learn our language. and she hated, you have to call somewhere and press 1 for English, press 2 for Spanish. That you shouldn't have to do that. This is our country, and we should do it the way we want. And when she first got out of the country, went to South America, started traveling around, from the moment we landed in the airport, I think it really struck her, and she went, "Oh, now all of a sudden I am really grateful for signs in restaurants and in bars and at shops that say their English language version and another language version as well, because I don't speak that language, and so it is really nice to have that." And so I think that's kind of what we're getting at today, that realizing that there's a whole big world out there full of different people, and understanding that engaging with that world is a good thing, something to be proud of. It's really important. I think it's really an important thing to remember. So today I'm going to re-air a video. I did it a few weeks ago on my YouTube channel, and I'm just going to show you some of the video today and just share with you some of these guys' stories. They both have a really unique story, and they both have a story that I think is worth sharing. I'm still trying to talk a couple of them into coming on live here on Best of Travel on Tuesday to share more in depth of their story. The video is not super long, and I think a whole hour to talk to each of them, to really talk to them about their experience. They're really great people. David is from Brazil. Dickie is from the Philippines. They're the two people that I'm going to interview in this piece, and we're going to talk all about travel. David's story is great. He immigrated to the United States originally as an illegal immigrant, and then had to go through the whole process to become a citizen. And Dickie's also got some really great travel stories to share. So, like I said, it's something I put on my YouTube channel at the end of September. If you like the video, tune in every week here, Tuesday at 11. But you can also check out my YouTube channel. There's a ton of videos like this, all sorts of stuff, travel guides and it's just craziness. Me being crazy, basically. This is the polished version of me. You get the polished version of me on Best of Travel, and you get the wild, actual traveling lost in a city version of me, I think, on the YouTube channel. So I think this is an important piece to share, and I think that they both have really unique stories. So I'm gonna share it with you today, and then afterwards we'll chat a little bit about the power of connections and the importance of connections, because that's what travel is really all about. And I know Nick and I has joked a few times and teases me that he wants the 5-star experience, and I think that's important. If you want to travel with a luxurious travel world, do it. Go for it. But don't forget to make connections along the way. Don't forget to talk to people. Don't forget to engage with the people where you're at, because that's what makes a place special. Everywhere's kind of the same, and people are all kind of the same everywhere, right? Like, it's just a matter of the culture that makes it different. So without further ado, I want to introduce this video. We've got Dickie from Brazil and David from Brazil and Dickie from the Philippines, and they're going to talk a little bit. We're going to chat about how travel can make world peace. So Wen, if you want to bring up the video, and away we'll go. Hi friends, it's Brandon. I am back. This week I have a unique video planned. We're going to be talking to some folks from around the world about their experiences with travel. So I wanted to talk to some of my friends who live around the world about travel and about their experiences with it. A couple weeks ago was World Peace Day, International World Peace Day, and it certainly hasn't felt peaceful here at home in the United States. But I did a live stream for like a little network, an online network that I was a part of for World Peace Day, and it got me thinking about travel and peace and how international travel can help create world peace. I know it sounds like a stretch, but it's something I've been thinking about a lot the last week or so. So I wanted to call up some friends from overseas and talk to them a little bit about their perspectives on travel and world peace. Before we get into the video, this week's video is brought to you with some help from the lovely folks at City Pass. They have some great online discounts you can use for different attractions and museums, events, and things like that. I'll talk a little bit more about them later, but first, let's make a couple of phone calls.
My name is David Faria Oliveira. I am 27 years old, and I am from Goiânia, Brazil.
I am Dicky Martinez. I'm 28 years old, and I am from Manila, Philippines.
Can you tell me about the first time you traveled?
Oh my gosh, you better be careful. No, no. So the first time I traveled outside of the country that I was born in was at a very early age of 8. My parents and I immigrated to the United States. So that was a really big experience. Culture shock at for a child definitely is real. It was very interesting just to be plucked out of where I was born and everything that I knew and step into this world where I didn't speak the language, I didn't understand what was going on, everything looked so different, but it really gave me the ability to just see at a very young age that the world is so vast and there are so many different people and different cultures. And so it was really exciting for me at that age to just see a whole different world because even when I was growing up, I thought that going to another country meant that you got on this airplane, you would go out to outer space, and it was like a whole different planet. So really, that was the first time that I took a trip that really showed me just how big our world is.
I've been traveling for quite a long time now, and I think traveling can create world peace by just, being able to understand different cultures and, you know, and realizing there's not much difference between whether you live in Asia, in Europe, South America, North America, any corner of the world. Like, you know, it's just a matter of like understanding each other. Like, we all have a lot of things in common. Granted that our cultures are different from each other, but it all came from one, you know, seed, for example, and we just branched out. And like I said, we all just want one thing. We just want to like get along with each other, understand each other, and in the end, it could probably, help us create world peace because of traveling, because of understanding each other.
So, David, here's a hard question. The hard question. What does peace mean to you?
Um, I think over the last 6 months and throughout my lifetime, I've learned that peace has a lot of different definitions, right? Lately, I've learned that there's inner peace and peace within yourself and being at peace with everything that you are and all that you are, all of you experienced, and really being at peace with um, all the experiences that make you who you are. I think that's very important, and that's something that I've tried to capture for myself. Um, and that's really like having that peace. But also, I think peace, when we look on the outside, it can look very different too. I think there's peace that you can see within your own life and the interactions that you have, the places that you go to. But I think what's really important is for us to be aware and acknowledge that that is a bubble, right? And just because there's peace within our bubble, there isn't peace in the world, right? So just because you're in this bubble and it is okay and it's great and everything is comfortable, you really have to just take yourself out of that and just get this world view. And that's when you can look around and you look and you say, wow, this is not what I thought it was. This is not how the world is. So I think it's very important for us to acknowledge that our experiences sometimes are very unique to who we are, where we're from, our race, and all of the experiences that we have as who we are. But really just open up your eyes and see that peace really means that the world is okay and the world is in harmony. And that is, a very, very large and difficult goal to get to. But I think as long as we're all doing our part, that is all that we can hope for. So I think that means taking ourselves out of our comfort zones, seeing the uncomfortable. You know, it is okay to be uncomfortable, and it's okay to not know. But what it's not okay to do, and I feel like, is to ignore it and pretend that there is peace there. So I think my definition of what I see as peace is it's working. It is constantly changing. It is ideally for me, it's everyone doing their part and everything they can to bring the world together, to make this a safe place and a diverse place and an inclusive space for everyone. I think that's the biggest thing. And then I think once the world is there and we're all being treated fairly and we're all doing our best to be our best person, I think at that moment is when we'll really achieve peace. So I think it's really just taking the different definitions that peace has for you and acknowledging that you can make a really big impact, not only in your personal bubble, but in the entire world by doing your part, educating yourself, and really making a difference where you are.
So I want to take a little segue and talk about flying. So for me, the first time I flew, like on an airplane at all, it was scary, but it was like a liberating experience. It was fast and loud, and I was afraid we were going to crash the whole time. But I thought it would be really liberating. Like it was really interesting to realize how connected the world can be. What was your first time like flying on an airplane?
So I first traveled when I was 12, and it was coming from Manila to Hong Kong. That was, yeah, that was the first time I traveled. And I was really excited because that was the first time I get to go outside of my country. I would just travel around, just like city to city within the Philippines. But like being the first time going out of the country, there was kind of like a mixed emotions there because I was excited, I was scared because it was my first time riding an airplane and I didn't know what to expect, but when I got on a plane, like uh, having never being inside and experiencing that speed getting off the ground, so that was really scary at first, but then once we started cruising on a cruising altitude, it was fine. It was a short flight, but it was really exciting, and I was like looking at the window, just like checking out the clouds, like seeing how high we were. It was like exhilarating.
This week, I want to say thank you to the great folks at CityPass. CityPass is an online resource that lets you find great discounts and deals on local attractions, museums, events, all sorts of great local stuff you can do in your city. They're all over the country. They've got deals on theme park tickets, different event tickets, all sorts of discounts you can find. Since I'm stuck here in the Florida area, I was looking around at some of the theme parks, Tampa Bay theme parks, Orlando theme parks, to see what I could find. And I can save like 50% by using CityPass to get some of these tickets. They offer great deals, great bundles, and awesome discounts on top attractions like Busch Gardens, among other things. So if you want to support the folks at CityPass and support this channel, you can visit thebrandonscott.com/go/citypass. It's a lot. thebrandonscott.com/go/citypass. I'll leave a link in the description. Give that link and click and see what discounts you can find in your area. So, so Mr. Dickey, can you tell me a little bit about the experience of meeting someone from like a different culture than you? What was that like?
Okay, the first time that I actually met someone that is like different from what I'm used to was still in Hong Kong, 2003. Um, since I'm Filipino and I only speak Filipino and English, and they do speak English as well, but like most of them speak Chinese. Can't remember exactly what kind of Chinese they were speaking, but just walking around in Hong Kong and just like, window shopping, and then there's a lot of them just like, offering you things in their language because like I kind of blend in. So I'm like, I don't really know what you're saying. I'm pretty sure that you're trying to sell me something, like any of your souvenir products, but like I don't really know how to respond to you, you know? And also like even in restaurants where like you sit down and then they just like give you a menu and it's not even in English and you're like, can we get the English menu? Because like we can't understand any of these characters. But it's definitely an experience. Like you know, eventually you get used to it after a couple days of being there, and yeah, like somehow you adjust.
So this ties back into my immigrant experience perfectly. So when I came as a child, and I think when you're a child, you are blessed in the way that some children, I wouldn't say all, you don't really have to worry about a lot, right? So as you're a kid, you know, my parents would often like joke around as we're growing up. It's like, oh, you know, all you have to do is go to school and get good grades. Like that is your job, right? But I think what's interesting is that when you're a kid and you come into this space, and honestly, like I didn't know anyone. And my first day at school, I think that was a big impact. That had a huge impact on me, was because I came into class. No one spoke Portuguese, which is my first language. People spoke Spanish, which was close enough. So I got to communicate with people like by, you know, I learned a lot of Spanish because of that. But when you're a kid, you know, you just realize that the things you have in common is you love to play, right? Kids love to play. And that is something that I think in school I really used to bond with these children, was that, you know, you love to color, I love to color. Doesn't matter where we're from, right? So I think that was one moment in my life where I was really like, these people are different, but these are the ways that we can connect, because there is like that human experience. You know, I think there are universal experiences that we all like to do and that we all want. So fun is one of them. And when you're a kid, it's so easy, you know, like you make friends like with the snap of a finger. It's just, hey, you want to play? Okay, let's go. So that was really fun. But I think growing up, and I would say because I joined the ice show at 19, it was very different going from the world that I lived in for a long time, which was just, you know, in the San Francisco Bay Area, skating at my ice rink, high school, all of these things, to leaving home, which was a completely different experience, and then meeting people, right? Meeting these new people that I had never heard before. I'd never seen them. I had a roommate, which was very new to me. I didn't know like what a roommate was really, you know? So having that experience, but then also being tied to the common experience that we're all here part of this production. So there we already had something, you know, in common. And then if to break that even down a little bit more was that meeting new skaters, which was very intimidating because I didn't necessarily feel that I belonged, that I didn't feel that I was at the level that they were. So I felt a little bit beneath them. But then we all had this common factor. We were all ice skaters in the ice show, and this is our job. So really, like at the same time that we were so different and felt so different from all of these people, you're really able to break it down and you just notice that you're not that different. You're all having this similar experience. Granted, you know, your life is different and, you know, your thoughts and obviously your cultural experience and all of these things, but you can always find these common factors that really bring people together. And that's what I did, and that's how I felt throughout different parts of my life, that I was able to tap into that, really make some really strong connections with a lot of people that I'm extremely grateful for now.
Okay, thank you so much for letting me blast you all over my YouTube channel. Love you. Bye. So now to sum this all up. So let's sum it all up, shall we? I like I said, I thought their story was important to share, so I wanted to re-air that video here on the show today, because that's what travel is really about, right? That travel is really about making connections with people who are different than you and engaging with them and having a unique conversation. That's what we're here for. That's what we want to do, and so I think that's so important. I think that's such an important aspect of travel. And I have, in the second half of the show, I want to share a funny anecdote with you about how it can be really fun and really exciting when you start making connections with people when you travel. So we have to take a quick break, and don't go anywhere. When we come back from the break, we're going to share a little bit more fun, a little bit more fun travel, and hopefully spread a little bit of peace in this uncertain world today. You're watching Best of Travel here on IBM TV every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Travel. It doesn't have to be complicated, and it doesn't have to be expensive. When you think of travel, it can be easy to get overwhelmed, from pricey airline flights, dates of your hotel, navigating in Ubers and taxis in foreign languages, and currency exchange. It can feel really complicated, but it doesn't have to be. Let me help you break down travel into some easy, simple steps, so that way you can take the trip of a lifetime without breaking the bank or stressing yourself out. Travel is more complicated now than ever, so having a guide who's experienced to help you navigate the world of travel can be priceless. And it is priceless. It's free to watch here on IBM TV and free to subscribe to my YouTube channel, where I'll give you some great travel tips and advice. There's nothing quite like snapping that photo at sunset in Paris, trying great coffee in Colombia, or adventuring around Spain having a great sunny day. Even if you want to travel domestically, from budget travel guides in New Orleans, New York, Paris, and London, to luxury travel guides and everything in between, travel can be so much fun and so much more affordable than you think. I hope you're having a great time watching me here live on IBM TV. I have a ton of fun making Travel Tuesdays Travel with Branden, and I hope you're having a lot of fun watching. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, swing by my YouTube channel. You can find my YouTube channel full of great travel tips, some travel hacks, some food recommendations, city guides, budget travel tips, and so much more. Subscribing on YouTube is free to do, and it helps support me and continue making great travel content for you to see. You can also visit me online at thebrandenscott.com, where you can get even more travel advice, some great links, and some in-depth breakdowns of trips I've taken and trips you can plan. It's a great way to find a little bit of inspiration for your next adventure and some travel tips. I've got cities both domestic and international that you can check out. Find the best places to eat, the best things to see, the best things to do, and how to do it all affordably. Whether you want to stay at Airbnbs or 5-star luxury hotels, there are great ways you can do all of those things on a budget. Swing by my YouTube channel, give that big red subscribe button some love, and don't forget to visit thebrandenscott.com for even more travel tips. From great photos in Paris, to awesome food in Spain, to wild adventures in Colombia. If you want to adventure and you want to see more, this is the place to do it. Now back to, I guess, live me on IBM TV. Enjoy Travel Tuesdays and Travel with Branden.
And I run away out of always rain. I just went out.
So thanks for sticking with us here. You're watching Best of Travel on IBM TV. If you're just joining the stream, my name is Branden, and we're talking all about travel today, travel tips, tricks, and hacks. And we're just having a great old time chatting about things. If you want to see some old episodes of the show, I have a whole little back catalog. We've been doing Best of Travel now for a few months, and you can do that if you visit thebrandenscott.com/IBMTV. There's a whole list of all the episodes we've done here on IBM TV. It's a really great to be able to look back, because I reference myself a lot. I'm definitely guilty of that. Fully guilty. So if you need to reference something I'm saying, you can look back too. But that's what we're talking about today. We're talking all about connections. So as fun as it is to explore, look at that. Oh, boom. Look, I'm wearing my shirt today just for you. Kaboom. As fun as it is to explore, I think it's even more important to make connections. You have to talk to people. And for me, I'm a big fan of solo travel. I think that solo travel is a great way to push yourself outside of your comfort zone, to meet some new people, and really learn how you interact with others. Because when you're alone in a foreign country, you have to interact with people more than you would if you had a big group, a big safety blanket to hang out with. And it teaches you a lot. It definitely teaches you a lot. And so I think David and Dickie's story is important to share because talking about being put in that position, being put in what's an uncomfortable position, and learning how to navigate that and how to engage with others and overcome that, it gives you a really good feeling. I think it gives you a really good feeling. So if you are just joining the stream, of course it is live. You can leave a comment below on the IBMTV Facebook page or YouTube channel, and we can chat a little bit about your travel questions here on the air. I do think it's important. I think it's important to talk about connections. So travel is more to me than just seeing pretty places, just trying new foods. It's about engaging with folks who maybe speak a different language or have a different religion or have a different culture. And travel, for me, I think it can really help people see that. I think it's a good little cure for some of the chaos we're experiencing now, is learning how to connect. And now we're connecting all virtually, thanks to the lovely folks here at IBMTV. We're able to connect virtually, but when travel comes back, the next trip you take, I want you to focus more on the engagement with others than you do on the actual experience. So take all the pretty pictures, but think about how you're interacting with people. Talk to the people there, talk to the locals. It's also really a great way to find unique travel things to do. Everybody can do the tourism stuff, the kind of classic tourism stuff that you find on TripAdvisor and all the other websites. But the locals know, they live there, and they know the best things, the best sights, the best sunrises. So I think that's the goal the next trip you take. I think it would really help resolve some of the tensions that we have around the world today. If people get out of their bubble a little bit and explore a little bit more, it can really make a difference. And I don't mean, just pop over to Vancouver. I mean, go somewhere that's really different. Go somewhere that is totally different than your culture. If you're in the United States, visit Egypt, visit Morocco, visit even just visiting European countries. You can really learn a lot about I think a lot of different things. So let me share with you kind of a couple of funny stories, because that's what we do here, right? We just chat about some funny stories. So the first story I wanted to share with you about making connections is a heartbreaker. I hope you're ready. Get your tissues. It's a heartbreaker. The first story I wanted to share with you was this last Valentine's Day when I was in Brussels, Belgium. And I had made a friend, an Australian friend, who had a big crush and was starting to date someone, and didn't know what to do. And me, being the lovesick, Hallmark original movie that I am, decided that I would help plan the Valentine's Day. So I got a text from my Australian friend at like 7 o'clock in the morning on Valentine's Day, saying, I don't know what to do, but I want to do something. And I thought, I'm on it. So I started running around. Turns out that on Valentine's Day, florists are very busy and they don't take walk-ins, even in Brussels. So I'm sitting in the floral shop waiting in line to see if there's any roses left, or if there's anything nice left that I can grab, last minute Valentine's Day present. And there was this woman in line, and she turned to me and said something in Flemish, which is not a language I understand at all. And so I kind of did the awkward American thing of, oh, excuse me, pardon me, I don't know what you're saying. And she was very kind to switch to English. But we started talking about, well, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you in Brussels on Valentine's Day? Don't you have somewhere to be? I'm like, no, just me. I'm all alone. But I said, no, I'm getting flowers for a friend. I'm helping a friend surprise their Valentine. So she said, well, here's what you need to do. So the florists aren't going to be able to help you. The florists are going to be busy. You need to go to this little shop. And it was a little shop. I couldn't tell you where. It was next to a Starbucks and some sort of train station. And it was a tiny hole in the wall place. And they had fresh cut flowers. I think it was probably the only place in Brussels that I could get fresh cut flowers. So because of that, because I struck up a conversation with this woman, there we go. Valentine's Day was saved. And of course, I was able to run to some of the local markets and pick up chocolates and, other things like that. But it was a tough day because I had to rely on making connections with other people. When I was selecting the card, the Valentine's Day card, the shop I was at, did not have any English cards. They had a lot of Flemish cards, and I don't speak Flemish. I not a word. Couldn't even say hello in Flemish. Don't even know how that. Not at all. So I had to stop and ask for help. Hey, let me talk to the clerk. Can you tell me what this says? Is this an okay Valentine's Day card to get? Is this is this acceptable for, and well, I don't know. Is it acceptable? And then you find yourself explaining your relationship status to strangers in Belgium. Not something I ever thought I'd be doing, but making those connections, it's important. It's important to engage with other people. And so that's what I want to encourage you to today. Even if you just walk up to someone and say, like, hello, I'm visiting. Where's a good place to eat? It's a simple icebreaker. What's your favorite food? What's your favorite restaurant here? And take them up on their suggestion. You'll oftentimes find a place that is less touristy. You'll find a place that is more affordable, and it's going to have better, more authentic food. So engage with people. Ask them. The other story I kind of want to share with you, and I'll keep it brief because I know I always go on all these tangents talking about myself. It's what I do best. I've shared a little bit of the story before, but one of my, for me, one of the important things to remember is that travel is not always a vacation. For me, travel is oftentimes work. So it's been work for a few years. So when I do take a trip, an actual vacation, and I go somewhere, I don't film anything. I don't take any pictures. I just try to enjoy my trip. Well, this was one of these trips I probably should have been taking pictures and engaged a little bit more because it would have made a great video. Oh my gosh, the IBMTV audience would have loved it if I would have filmed any of it. But I was staying on an island called Menorca, south of Spain, in the Mediterranean, and it was April, May-ish. It was warm, but it wasn't big tourist season yet. It was just before their big tourist season. So the restaurants and everything were open, but it was a little chilly, and there weren't really any tourists there. And I had this lovely villa, and I'll do a whole episode about how I booked and arranged that trip later this season here on Best of Travel. So make sure you're swinging by every Tuesday at 11 because it's just getting better from here. But I was staying at this lovely villa, and just on the road was a really cute restaurant. And this restaurant was not staffed fully because it was not their tourist season. I think there were like 2 waiters and maybe a cook, but I went there a bunch. I was on the island for I think about a week, maybe a little less. And so I would go to this restaurant a lot and sit down and have some nice Mediterranean cuisine. And funny side note, one of the things on this island, I did not know this when I was traveling there because it was my vacation. I wasn't going for work. I wasn't going to write a guide or anything. I was just trying to enjoy it. But I didn't know they had a bunch of cows. It was a big dairy farming island. And so they have a special kind of cheese called Mahon cheese. It's a Spanish cheese, and it is really, really good and creamy, but they put it on everything. You get a big slab of it on fish. You get a big slab of it on desserts, on your cake. Boom, Mahon cheese on top. So I sat down at this restaurant and started talking to the waiter and said, what is this cheese? And he explained to me why it's a unique cheese because the cows graze on the saltwater grass on the cliffs and all over the island. And so that gives it like a salty, natural flavor to the cheese. So it's like savory, but it's super, super creamy because they're grass fed and blah, 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 blah. I don't know the science of it. I really don't. If you have a favorite cheese, maybe you're a better expert than me in the cheese department. I'm not an expert in the cheese department, but we started chatting, and that was all it was. It was a simple question. I had ordered a dish, and he brought out this dish, and I said, what is this thing on top? And so we started talking, and there's no one else in the restaurant because it was before their tourist season, so there wasn't a soul there, but we struck up a conversation. And he, the next time I came over to the table and said, can I practice my English? And I said, sure, can I practice my Spanish? So we went back and forth for a while. And next thing you know, I'd spent like 3 hours at this restaurant having a really great conversation with this waiter. And we hit it off pretty well, and we were chatting. And I think the 3rd or 4th time I went to the restaurant, he would just come sit down and have a glass of wine with me, and then would go get me my next course and sit down. We just would chat. So I made this friend, and that's the really cool thing about travel is you can make these friends. And he had questions about the United States, and he had questions about why we had elected who we had elected at the time. Lord knows I didn't have an answer for that. I didn't vote for him. But we had a really great, engaging conversation. And so finally, one of the last days I was there, I went back to this restaurant and I sat down with this guy and we started talking. And I think that day I had some sort of pasta. It was really good. It was like a seafood pasta. And the restaurant was right on the beach. And so I'm sitting looking out at the ocean. I said, I really, I don't want to go. I feel like I haven't gotten to really experience the island. It's just such a beautiful place that you live. And it's a tiny little island. And this guy says, well, do you have a car? And I said, no, I didn't rent a car. I just kind of came to relax by the beach. And he said, well, you have to have a car to see the island. He said, a buddy and I are going to go on an adventure tomorrow. Do you want to come with us? We'll drive you around the island and show you some of the best spots. And I thought, well, how do you say no to that? So of course I called my brother-in-law who was in the Navy and said, like, if I don't call you back in 24 hours, I've been, murdered and thrown to the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea, just in case, because you got to be safe. But I said, sure, let's go on this adventure with this strange waiter that I've met in this restaurant. And that was probably one of the best connections I made that whole trip, because this guy, picked me up the next day. We met up with his friend, and we went to around the island. And the island is really neat because it's got like these kind of coral reef rocks around it. They're very porous. They got lots of holes, and they're kind of wavy and pointy. And so kind of hiked around the island a little bit. And I mean, it was just beautiful. It was just stunning. And I never would have thought to look for this nature trail. But the locals knew. The locals knew where to go. So we're walking along, and we come up to this kind of drop off. And the guy says, okay, now we jump. Now we cliff dive. And I thought, oh no, this is not going to end well for me. I may only be 26, but I am a grandma sometimes when it comes to these things. And I looked over the ledge and looked down, and I thought, oh no, I'm not doing that. And I said, I don't know, man. I can see the bottom of the ocean. I can see big rocks. That's the bottom of the ocean. That is not deep enough to jump from this height into. No, it'll be fine. It's very clear. It's very clear water in this little enclosure. Jump right into the sea. It's deeper than it looks. Oh boy, I thought, here's how I go, right? And so there I was. I found myself on an island in the middle of the Mediterranean with two strangers, and they were jumping off this cliff, and they did it a couple times, and I thought, okay, I guess it's safe to do it, so why not? So we had a great time. We had a great morning, and jumped off, and boy, they were right. The water was deeper than it looked, and it was a ton of fun. And it was the most beautiful view. You kind of looked out onto the water. There was a lighthouse in the distance. And we were just jumping into the Mediterranean Sea, laughing, swapping stories. We had a really great morning. And that was only possible because I was open to the connection. I was willing to sit down and say, hey, what is this thing on my dish? And start a conversation and talk to him a little bit about his life on the island, and learn a little bit about his story and strike up a friendship. And so then I got to have a really unique, once-in-a-lifetime experience that you couldn't book on a tourist vacation. You couldn't book on TripAdvisor. It was just a little spot that he and his friends had that they went to go swim. And that's why it's, I think, important to make connections. Of course, the side note here is that I'm not a good cliff diver. I had never done it before. At one point in time when I had jumped off the rock, I flailed like a piece of wet spaghetti in the wind and hit my foot against the side of the cliff as I was going down, bruised the bone. And then I remember coming back, when I came back to the States, I went to urgent care and I said, hey, I don't know, I need an x-ray. And they said, oh yeah, the bone's bruised. We could give you crutches and a boot if you want, but it'll probably be okay. If it's not bothering you in 6 weeks, you'll be fine. And my family, my grandma actually said, well, heck, Branden, you should have gotten the crutches, because what a story. Everybody stops to ask what happened, and you can say, oh, I was cliff diving in the Mediterranean. But that's something that was only made possible through the power of making connections with other people. So as fun as travel is, and as fun as it is to do the touristy things, to visit the hot spots, get the best Instagram photos, visit all the places you want to visit, it's incredible, and you'll have a much better experience if you open yourself up and you start talking to other people and engaging with them. You don't have to, do a David Letterman interview with everybody, but just approaching a stranger and saying, hey, what's good? What's good around here? Where is a good place to go? And I found that people are much more open and willing to talk to you if you approach them with a friendly attitude. Maybe it's because I'm Midwestern, so I'm just very polite to everybody. But if you approach somebody that way, it's just a nice way to start up a conversation, and you'll probably get a super experienced tourist guide, I guess, who would never have been a guide otherwise. And that's why it's important to make connections. I do think that travel can help cure us of some of our woes of othering, as we see now, especially in the Western world. We see a lot of us versus them, and I think traveling can help cure that. It can help you see people from a different perspective, and see cultures and countries from a different perspective, and see the world as a bigger place. That's really the kind of moral I want you to take away from this. And of course, there's the fun parts too. When you're at a club and you strike up a conversation with the bartender, and he says, "Well, I'll give you a free ticket to get into this other club that's exclusive," and you have a $50 ticket just handed to you for free because you struck up a conversation and you made friends, and you get to have a unique experience that didn't cost you anything, that you might not have gotten to have if you were just looking at the TripAdvisor websites and boards. So, if you've traveled and you've had any fun of these fun experiences, leave a comment below. I'd be curious to hear some of your stories as well. But it's one of those tips that is, I think, the hardest to be comfortable doing, mainly because you have to talk to somebody else, and I get so much anxiety. So the idea of being in a strange country and just talking to somebody else, it scares me. I'd much rather order my pizza online. I don't want to pick up the phone and call Domino's, let alone be in a foreign country and start asking questions. So it's okay to do that, and I want to encourage you to do that. I think you'll have some of the best experiences you can imagine. That's the way to do it. Not to share too many stories, but like the one of the best bottles of wine I ever had. I was in Dijon, France, I think. Can't remember where. Somewhere in France, and I struck up a conversation with a stranger. And I was shopping for wine because I was going to get a bottle of wine for dinner that night. I was just looking for like a Euro bottle of wine, like a cheap bottle of wine to have with dinner. And this guy we start chatting, and he said, "Well, what wine do you drink?" And I said, "Well, I don't really know French wine that well. I drink this, I drink that, and I'm not super familiar." And he said, "Oh, well, you have to try." I can't remember what it was. Sort of the tea. Not Tullamore Dew. That's the whiskey. What's it called? I don't know. But we struck up a conversation. You have to try this wine. That was what he was getting on this conversation. So he pulls it out and he just gave it to me. Here you go. It was a $50 bottle of wine. Well, not quite. It was like a €40 bottle of wine. And he just gave it to me and said, let's go have a glass. And of course, in France, you can just go sit on a park bench and crack open a bottle of wine. So that's what we did. And boy, oh boy, it was my favorite wine. I wish I could remember what it was called, but we had a great conversation and a nice glass of wine, and he gave me the bottle, and I took it back to my Airbnb and shared it with the people that I was traveling with. These are the experiences you can have if you open yourself up to other people. Just because it's wrong or just because it's different doesn't mean it's wrong. Yeah, that's what it is. Just because it's different doesn't mean that it's wrong. Engage with other people. Ask about their stories. Ask people, what do you do around here for fun? And then go deeper and say, how did you end up here? How did you end up in this city? Why did you choose to live here? Strange things will happen. We have to remember, I think, in this time of animosity and in this time of othering and us versus them, I think we have to remember that we're all very much so the same. The world is not as big and scary of a place as it seems to be. Everyone is just trying to live their best life, and people individually are a lot nicer than you might think. So don't be afraid to walk up to a stranger. Don't be afraid to approach the waiter in a bar and have a conversation. Just ask them some questions. They might invite you into their home for dinner. They might give you a great bottle of wine. They might take you cliff diving. They might, who knows? And it's a really nice way to kind of travel. I could have had an experience when I did those traveling of I'm on Google and what's the best review, what's the best bottle of wine to buy, in this city in France, and buy whatever it was. And I would have had a lesser experience. I could have Googled where are the best places to go cliff diving on this island, and I would have gotten, a $20 experience with 50 people. We would take turns and wear life jackets, a much lesser experience. So don't be afraid to talk to other people. The world is not as big and as scary as it seems. And the more you talk with other people, the more you learn. I kind of go back to that story I shared in the beginning of this show of my friend who was so grateful for translated menus and translated signs when she started traveling. And I really think that some of the problems we have in the United States, I think that if people get out of their bubble a little bit more and realize there's a much bigger perspective out there. I'm going to take a second here and say something that is just going to get me canceled on Twitter, but I want to talk directly to the Americans who are watching. You got to go see other places. We have a narrative, I think, that we're raised with of American exceptionalism, that we're the greatest country in the world, and that is a nice patriotic narrative to have, but then it starts to lead you to think that other places are less and less and less than us, and you start to have this othering view. I can't tell you how many times when I went to Colombia, people would ask me, oh, do they even have houses there? Do they even have cities? It's Colombia. It's a drug-ridden country. I've seen it on Narcos. I've seen the TV show Narcos on HBO. What's it like to travel? You have a tent? And I had to explain, like, no, there's shopping malls, there's restaurants, there's Irish pubs, there's big hotels, there's, it's a normal place with normal people just trying to live their best life. So don't be afraid to engage. Don't be afraid to talk to other people. And one of the easy ways to start now, even though we can't travel in this time, I think is to watch some of the other shows here on IBMTV. We've got a lot of great shows lined up every week. We've got almost 60 shows lined up every week. Different perspectives, people with different viewpoints. You can be thrown to the sharks in the lawyer's den, and you can learn all about the movie making industry with Henny Morales. There's just so much and so many different viewpoints. So the more you start to engage with people who are different than you, I think the better person you'll become, the smarter person you'll become, and the kinder person you'll become. Really, it's just a Sesame Street episode. That's what this is. That's what today is. Brought to you by the letter B for Branden. It's just a Sesame Street episode. But they do have a point. The whole smarter, stronger, kinder thing. It makes you a better person. So I don't want to go so far as to say travel makes you a better person, or travel cures racism, because there are lots of complex, challenging problems in the world. But the more we can start to accept people who are different than us, people who look different than us, people who sound different than us, people who, are a different race, a different ethnicity, people who are different gender, sexual orientation, the more we can talk to them and understand that they're just people trying to live their lives. And some of them have really great stories to share. I think the kinder we become, and the selfish part of that is the better experience we have. Next time you're traveling, when we do, because as I start to wrap up every show, I say, of course, we're not traveling now. Cases are spiking. We're staying at home. We're wearing our masks. We're socially distancing. We're being responsible because I want to get back out there. And I can't do that without your help. I can't do that unless you stay at home, stay safe, and stay smart and stay healthy. But when we do, and you'll be ready and prepared for that day, because I will have given you every bit of advice I can to make sure your trip is the best it can be every week here on Best of Travel. But when that day comes, when you take that trip, do your Googling, get online, look around. What city are we at? What's the history? What are the fun things to do? Can I sign up for this class? Can I take a cooking class? Great, do those things. But along the way, actually talk to the people that you're with. It's one thing to just go to a macaroon making class in France and take the class and go, look, I made macaroons and there's my photo. But if you start talking to the people that are hosting the class and why did you decide to do this? Why do you like macaroons? Where do you get the best macaroon around here? Where's the place to go if I want a really, really great macaroon? That's when you start to have an experience that is more than just the tourism experience. And tourism is ultimately, I think, about that. It is about not just having a cool story, not just having a great Instagram feed or a cool YouTube channel. Shameless plug. Speaking of shameless plug, Explore merchandise is on sale only this week. Boom. Well, so if you want to get some Explore merchandise, now's the time to do it. But it's not just about those things. It's about having an experience of meeting other people and connecting with other people. David and Dickie both made some excellent points. I really liked David's metaphor for coloring. What is it we have in common? We can all color when we were kids. And of course, he was brought in, to the country and had to go through the immigration process in a very unique way, and has a great story to share. But he was looking at, well, what's the common ground? I don't speak this language, but how can I connect? And I promise you'll be shocked every time at how much body language and universal sign language works. So if you don't speak the same language, finding that element of connection, finding those tidbits. The best sites I've seen, the best experiences I've had are not necessarily the ones I've just booked online. They're the ones that a new friend in a new country has taken me to. Making friends with people and having conversations with people. That's really the way to do it. The episode I did couple weeks ago, where I gave you 50 tips to travel. One of the tips was walk away from the tourist hotspots to get the best food. If you want to have really authentic food, that's a cop out. The easier way to do that is to ask the local there. Find a local and say, you live here? Where's the best place to go for food? What's your favorite cafe? What's your favorite bistro? Where's the best place to get a good curry? Whatever it is, ask the local, and you'll find that spot every time right away. You won't have to play the gambling game, and it'll give you a much better, fulfilling experience, a better travel experience. I'll give you lots of tips here on Best of Travel. We do air every week on IBMTV. And I'll give you all sorts of tips. I'll give you hacks. I'll help you find some budget deals. I'll give you some city guides. But at the end of the day, the one thing I hope you take away from this show more than anything else, the whole seasons, as long as they let me run here on IBMTV, the one core thing I hope you remember through all the tips and all the travel knowledge is it's not just about going. It's about connecting. It's about meeting people. From the moment you step out of your home and you get into that airport, connection with those other people is going to give you a better experience. If you start having an engaging, honest conversation with the people at the gate, you might end up with an upgrade. If you start having a great conversation with the flight attendants, you might end up with a free drink. If you start to engage with people, you'll have a better experience every single time. And making those connections will really help your perspective. So I do always encourage, solo trips, and I do always encourage all those kinds of things. But it's more than that. It's about chatting with people. Talk to your Airbnb host. Chat with the locals. Don't be afraid to meet new people. And here's the other kind of flip side of this coin. The advice I like to give people is don't be afraid to make a fool of yourself. You're never going to see these people again. You might have a horrible social faux pas. You might slip and fall. The people that are there, you don't have to deal with that. You're going to go away and you're not going to have to see them anymore. So don't be afraid to be embarrassed. Don't be afraid to ask questions and talk to the locals. That's the one way you're going to have the best travel experience every time. I'm excited to share some more stories like David and Dickie's on this show. We've got some great interviews planned coming up here on Best of Travel every week. We've got some digital nomads we're going to talk to. We've got some people who have some interesting stories as far as borders and immigration and fun travel stories. So make sure you tune in every week here on IBM TV for Best of Travel every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern. If you want to go back and watch some old episodes, you can do that by visiting, there it is, thebrandonscott.com/IBMTV. I've got all the episodes linked out for you, so you can go back and watch your favorite episode, share it with a friend, and you guys will be equipped to become the best travelers you can be. As I end every episode, I want to remind you to wear your mask, stay safe, and put on your hand sanitizer. We're not traveling yet. I'll be the first one to tell you when it's go time, when it's the season to go again. I'll be the first one to shout it into the into the internet because I'm ready. I am so excited to go traveling again. Of course, stay tuned here to IBMTV. You can visit the IBMTV Facebook page. After this, you can check out day 2 of the Black Business Expo coming up at 12 p.m. Every Tuesday, we do Celebs Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern, followed by Humerawood coming up at 1 p.m. Eastern. And don't forget to visit my website, thebrandonscott.com, for more travel tips, hacks, and advice. And I'll see you next week here on Best of Travel at 11 a.m. Eastern. Thanks for a nice, peaceful episode today. Now, go make a connection, even if it's virtual. Go meet somebody new, say hi, and enjoy your next trip more than you thought you would. I'll see you next week.